Well, while we're waiting for the finish on our stock to dry, we're going to deal with the barrels. As I mentioned, there are a couple of dents in these barrels, one in the left here and one in the right at the bottom. They are laminated steel barrels, and as such they're fairly soft and it's fairly easy to remove the dents. Same is true of Damascus barrels. Steel barrels can be a little harder. I have measured the bore diameters of the barrels. This one's 0.790, this one's 0.785, and I need to know that as I'll explain in a second. Now there are two ways of removing dents from barrels. One is to use a hydraulic dent removal tool, and that's what this is. These are useful tools. You do need to know what you're doing, because as you tighten the Allen screw in the end here, as you tighten this Allen screw with an Allen key, this little pad here actually raises up and raises the dent. The risk with these is if you overdo it, you can actually create a bulge where the dent was, so we're not going to do that today. The other method is to use a steel mandrel, which is nothing more than a round piece of steel bar turned to a specific diameter. This one is 0.782, which is a little about right for the one barrel, which is 785. It's a little small for the second barrel, so in order to compensate, you can just put a piece of tape on one side. That's masking tape. You can use electrical tape, and that will make it a nice snug fit in the barrel. One precaution before inserting a mandrel into the barrel: clean the barrel and lubricate it to get rid of any foreign objects, because otherwise you may scratch your barrel when you push the mandrel down the barrel. So I'm just going to insert this mandrel into the left barrel, which was 790, and put it in position under the dent with the tape on the opposite side from the dent. The dent's right there, so I'm going to put the tape down and see if we can get that mandrel to go in. Well, it won't go with the tape on it, so I'm going to have to remove the tape. And try again. That surprises me, because I did measure that barrel at 790. And this measures right at 789 with the tape on it. There's probably a tight spot just there at the chamber. Okay, so I'm removing the tape, and hopefully now we can get the, there we go. Anytime you feel tightness, there's something going on in the barrel, so you can look and see if there's a dent you may have missed. I think it's just, in this case, just the barrel diameter is getting a little tighter down toward the end of the barrel there. You should be able to push it in. I need to get it in all the way to get to reach the dent, so I'm going to use a hammer. I'm going to tap it in lightly. And now you can appreciate why we didn't want any foreign objects in the bore. This is actually unexpectedly tight, and if you overdo it, you might stretch the barrel, which is not a good thing. Okay, I'm just about to the dent now, which is why it's tight. I'm now under the dent, a little bit more. You don't want to be whacking the barrel with the hammer. I now use a hammer which has been specially prepared in the sense that this face has been polished, so there are no sharp divots or marks on the face of this barrel. It's polished, and it's polished in a slightly convex fashion, and it's a hammer I reserved specifically for this task and this task only. My dent is actually almost gone. I can feel here just the mandrel is taking care of it. By tapping the barrel there, I'll get rid of the dent altogether. I now remove my mandrel, and that I do by knocking it out from the nozzle end. And that's about as tight as you want a mandrel to be. You don't want to be stretching a barrel. Okay, looking down the barrel, I can see that dent is gone. There's no sign of that dent anymore. The second dent is on the bottom of the barrel, here on the bottom of the right barrel. The right barrel is actually tighter, so I don't think this mandrel is going to go into this right barrel. I can give it a try, but I don't think it's going to go. We're going to have to use our dent raising tool. See, it's tightening up already, and we're not anywhere near. I think this barrel's too tight, so this is not going to work. We're going to use our dent raising tool on this barrel, because I don't have a mandrel, which is I don't think I have a mandrel which is one step smaller than this one. This is 782. Now I could go on the lathe and make up a mandrel, but oh, wait a second, what have we got here? See, this is 775. I think it's going to be too loose. This is a little bit more sophisticated mandrel. It's got a parallel section, it's got a tapered section, which enables you to insert it into the choke section of the barrel, and it also will gradually raise the dent as the parallel section passes it. I'm going to try this one and see how it fits, but I think it's going to be too loose. It's getting snug down there, which might be just what we need, because that's about where that dent is. There's a dent right there. Let's see where we are. I can measure the position of the rear. You see, I'm right under the dent now, and it is pretty snug, so I think I might get away with it. Now I could put a piece of tape on this mandrel, and that would also work. Alright, let's have a look. Well, that dent is still there. I can still see it, so I am going to put a piece of tape on this mandrel and try one more time. I've got oil on it, so I'm going to have to clean the oil off with some solvent. Otherwise my tape's not going to stick. So let's do that quickly. I'm just going to clean the oil off the half that we're going to stick the tape to. There we go. Always a good idea to put the lid back on so you don't knock things over, cause a mess, or even worse, a fire. The solvent is obviously flammable. Let's do this again. This was the left barrel and the dent is right there somewhere. So I'll insert the tape on the opposite side of the dent and see how that works. I can feel it's still snug there. Let's see, where is my dent? It's right there, so I'm going to get in about that deep. This is exactly where I am. Alright, let me give it another little tap. I'm just supporting it here. And tap is the operative word there. You don't want to be whacking it. You just want to tap it. Alright, so let's have a look. Yeah, it's all but gone. I can still see a slight vestige there. But that's about as good as you're going to get. Now, that's all one needs to do regarding the dents. There are a couple of other things that one sometimes has to do to barrels. One is rejointing if the barrel's loose on the action. This one is actually tight, and the reason for that is I was looking at the action earlier, and it's the hinge pin is actually being replaced. This pin that goes right through the action there, the hinge pin, you can see is bright and has no engraving on it. That's a sign that someone in the past, could be 50 years ago, replaced the hinge pin. So the barrel's tight, so I don't need to worry about the barrel fitting to or rejointing the barrels to the action. The other question with barrels is the soundness of the ribs. And normally you can see ribs if they're separated. The old tried and true test is the ringing. If the barrels won't ring like a bell, then the ribs are usually loose. Sometimes they'll ring like a bell and the ribs loose anyway. And you can normally see where they're loose because there'll be some gap or corrosion or blemish in the finish right up against the rib. And these ribs look solid, so I don't need to do anything to the ribs. The front bead is good. The only question is whether to do anything to the finish of the barrels. Strictly speaking, when you remove a dent, what one should ream and re-hone the barrels, and that'll completely remove any sign whatsoever. That's purely a cosmetic step, frankly. The reaming, and that's a very laborious and expensive process, and it's not necessary from a functional perspective. If you're anal about the barrels being perfect on the inside, that's what you have to do. And then of course, where you've hammered on the barrels, you sometimes leave a little peening mark, and in order to get rid of that, one has to polish the outside of the barrel, sometimes strike them with a file, polish them with various grits of paper down to about 400 or 600, and then re-black or re-brown as the case may be. Now these barrels are sufficiently antiqued and weathered that you can't see where I peened with the hammer, and I was careful not to create peen marks. So that's not necessary. I could improve the appearance of these barrels by rebrowning them, as they do have you know, some external pitting, and the pattern is not vivid anymore. However, I'm not going to do that because that destroys the originality and the patina of the barrels. It makes them look new again, which, you know, they're pretty, but they're clearly not original. And it's not really necessary because I don't have any really ugly blotches or marks here. One thing you can do with a Damascus or a laminated barrel to touch up the appearance is to dump it in a bath of weak acid, and that will bring out the pattern somewhat, although it won't get rid of blotches, you know, which are caused by surface corrosion. And again, I don't think I'm going to do that to these barrels. You know, I prefer them in their in this current state. They have a wonderful patina, or patina as some people call it, and I think they're perfectly serviceable. And I really don't want to mess with acid. So that's it. I think our barrels are done. What remains to be done is to finish, or to complete the refinishing of the buttstock, and then to reassemble the gun. And we will do that in the next episode. Thank you.